how to debug code, and what debugging means. Today you will learn two main methods for beginners to find errors in your code. You can download the code that I use in this video from my GitHub. You have a simple program that should add all numbers from 1 to 50 and then divide the result by 75. And you know that the final answer is 70. But if you log the result to the console, you see that the current answer is wrong. The first method how to find an error is to use additional console logs to see how different values change while your code runs. Let's add an additional console log inside of the for loop. Now I logged the value of sum and we see that the value starts from the 0, so this is the initial value of sum, and then all the further values are negative. So it means that instead of the addition, I use subtraction. If I look to the next line, I see that I used minus sign instead of the plus sign. Now I see that the value of sum is positive, but it's still not the right answer because we know that the right answer is 70, but we have 60.333. Now if I look to the console, I don't see any additional clues why I have this mistake. So let's add more variables to the console. Now I also logged the value of I, but it's difficult to differentiate each log, so let's add additional string before the variable. Now it's easier to differentiate which values belong to sum and which values belong to I, and if I look to the console, I see that the last value is 48, but we need to add all numbers from 1 to 50, including 50. So it means that in my condition, I use that I is less than 50, but if I is equal to 50, I also should run the body. So I can change this sign to less or equal. And now we see the right answer in the console. It might be a little bit tedious to always write these strings before the variables, so I have one trick. Now I have two empty console logs, and inside of the parentheses, I will add curly braces. And then I will write sum. I will do the same thing with I. And now you see that in the console we have the name of the variable and then the value of this variable. This is a fast way how to differentiate our logs. We can write additional console logs if we have some clue about where the problem might be. But what if our program is much more complicated and we don't know where might be a problem? For these situations, we have Debugger. This is much more complicated tool and I will cover only basics in this video. How to open the debugger in VS Code. I expanded my window and right now on the left hand you see different icons. You should find an icon with bug and play symbol. If you press it, you will see three different options. Press run and debug. Then I will choose Chrome because I'm working in the Chrome. You might also choose Edge, but I choose Chrome. And now VS Code generated a new launch.json file. If I open the Explorer, on the left hand the icon with two files. Here I will see a new folder, VS Code, containing the file launch.json. All what you need to change here is a port number in URL. So right now this is a port number of 8080, but if you use live server extension, you should use 5500 port. Now I can save this file. Then you need to run your code. I will go to index.html and here in the right bottom corner, I will press go live. Now my code is running in the browser and this is the time to add breakpoints. I will go to the file that I want to debug and here before the line number I have a gutter, and if you hover over it you will see small red button. This is a breakpoint. I will add one breakpoint before the let sum equal to 0. Without breakpoints, debugger can't work. A breakpoint is essentially a point where your code will be stopped and you will be able to see which values your variables have. So put this one breakpoint and then we can again press run and debug button. And now we will see a little bit another screen. I expanded my window and let's clean up this workspace. At the beginning, you will need only variables folder so you can minimize all other folders. I minimize watch, call stack and breakpoints and now I have only variables. And now it's the time to run our debugger. I have a green play button. If I press it, we opened a new instance of our browser. Now I minimize this window and open the Explorer. If you have a lot of different folders, in this case, when you start a debugger, you should choose in which folder you want to debug your code. So in this instance, I have all folders and I need to choose which folder I want to debug. In my case, this is AT Debugger folder. I press it and I see that my line 4 is highlighted and I have new buttons. This yellow highlight means that our code is stopped and it waits for our command. The main command that you should know is step into. If you press it, you will see that on the left hand in the variables folder, you will see a new variable sum that is equal to 0. And right now, if I hover over sum, I will see a number of 0. So this is the current value of this variable. For example, if I hover over I, it shows me that I is a number, but it doesn't have any specific value. Let's press it again. And now we see that we have a new variable I that equal to 1. And if I hover over I, now we see a value of 1. Let's press step into again. So now our code checked this condition that I that is equal to 1 is less or equal than 50. And this is true. This is the reason why we go inside of our body. Here I see that my sum equal to 0, and then I want to add the value of I that is equal to 1. So if I press step into again, now my sum changed the value from 0 to 1. If I hover over sum, we see that this value is 1. I can continue pressing step into, and we will see that the value of sum and the value of I changes every time when we press step into. And we can observe which values they have. So if you want to leave your for loop, you can continue pressing step into, but here we have another button, continue. And what continue does, it skips all the code before the next breakpoint. So now we have only one breakpoint. This is small red dot in the gutter. I can add a new breakpoint, for example, on the line 8. So now on the line 8, I have another breakpoint. And if I press continue, I see that my sum equals to 2075. And right now my line 8 is highlighted. And then I can continue pressing step into. And now we see the final value of 70. And if I press step into again, we finished our code. When you finished your code, this is the end of your debugging. Now you can stop debugging by pressing this red square, or you can restart your debugging. It will return the debugger to the initial breakpoint. It's also important to understand that in the VS Code, you can only step forward, so you can't return back. If you want to return back, you need to restart your debugger. One more example how to use debugger with more complicated project. This is another JavaScript file. So at first, in my HTML file, I should change the source to the file that I want to run. In my case, I want to run game.js, so this is the reason why I have this name. Then I must put at least one breakpoint if I want to run a debugger. I will put it on the same line where I declare my first variable, just to start observing my code from the beginning. Then I need to run my code. I return back to my HTML file and press go live, and now I see that my code is running in the browser. I can minimize this window because I want to debug this application. I return back to my JavaScript file and then I press play button. Remember that you should choose run and debug, and then you will see green play button. New instance of Chrome browser is opened, and here I should choose my folder. So in my case, this is AT Debugger, and now I can minimize this window. And in my code, I see that the line number 3 is highlighted, so it means that we stopped at this position. Now I can step into my code, and on the left hand, I see how different variables appear. I can continue step into. So now I have several values, and now I'm inside of the while loop. Interesting thing of the debugger, I can hover over my variables, and then I can calculate the result of this statement by myself. So I see that player lives equal to 2, so 2 is more than 0, and dealer lives equal to 2, and 2 is more than 0, so it means that this value is true, and we will go to the body of our while loop. Here is also one interesting thing. Now I have a variable bullet, and we will randomly assign 0 or 1 to this variable. If I press step into, now I see that my bullet equals to 0. Then we have player choice variable. If I press step into, it seems that we finished our debugging, but I still have this debugging tools, and we need to remember that confirm function waits a response from the user. Actually, we need to open the instance of our browser, and here we see a message, and we need to choose OK or cancel. So I press OK, and then I again minimize this window. And now we see that our next line is highlighted. Player choice equal to true because I pressed OK. Here we have if else statement block, and I can manually find the right branch that will be chosen. If I hover over player choice, this equal to true, our bullet equal to 0. So I know that this branch will be skipped. Let's observe the value of the second if statement. The first value is true and our bullet equal to 0, so I know that this branch will be chosen. And yes, if I step into, we see how our branch works. Our player lives should be decreased by 1, and now our player lives equal to 1, and then we have a console log. And if I pressed step into again, all our block is skipped and we return back to our while loop condition. Our code checks again, is it true or false? Player lives variable is equal to 1, this is more than 0, and dealer lives variable equal to 2, this is also more than 0. It means that we again run our body. I think that you understood how we can observe different values with Debugger. I hope that this video wasn't too overwhelming for you and you learned something new. In the next video, we'll learn about arrays in JavaScript.